You will now learn the truth about leg aesthetics, what the real requirements are for having nice development. The first truth is that once you surpass the novice phase, around 70 to 80% of your total leg size is achieved, which is quite impressive. That means the vast majority of you will outgrow your pants by several notches. You will have to upgrade your entire wardrobe, and you'll become one of those lifters that has difficulties shopping. Say hello to tailoring, or say hello to wearing a belt when you don't have to just because the waist is so large. That's how you got to compensate. So it doesn't take long to build nice legs. After your first 1 to 2 years of lifting, you are covered and development will be absolutely amazing. I don't think people realize how good this type of development is. Sure, you might not have tree trunks, but is tree trunk legs aesthetic in the first place? Many would argue no. After all, aren't aesthetics subjective? Of course they are. I might find one appearance looks good, you might find the other looks better. Some people like short hair, some people like long hair. Some people like clean shaven, others like beards. Some like massive, bulging legs. Others like a slimmer, more athletic type of look. So what I can tell you is that once you're past the novice phase, you'll at least have those athletic looking legs, which for many of you will look absolutely incredible. And that's your goal. Many of you don't want tree trunks. You find it to be repulsive, myself included. I used to have 26-inch legs, and as a short man, it didn't look right. It looked awful, as a matter of fact. So I understand your frustrations and realize that you don't have to be influenced by anybody else. You have your own goals, and if this is the look that you like, feel free to do whatever you want after that point. I know some guys, they hit that 3-plate squat maybe for like 5-10 reps, and they're like, screw it. I'm just going to maintain this, and they're perfectly content, and they're really loving the look. And maybe they specialize in some other things, like doing a lot of unilateral work to get that VMO in check. And lowering the body fat percentage to expose the leanness. So this concept of having tree trunks, some will want that look, some prefer it. But recognize that for aesthetic looking legs, you'll be fine after your first 1-2 years of lifting. And then you can just do other stuff on the side, and you really don't have to worry about this. You don't have to be squatting 500 pounds. You don't have to be throwing on all the plates in leg press. And I'm talking full range here. You don't have to be an ultimate beast. You can quite easily be advanced in the upper body, early intermediate in the legs. And you're still going to have a balanced looking physique, and there's going to be nothing to worry about. If you think that your legs look tiny, that you have chicken legs after that point, in most cases it's a form of body dysmorphia and influence from the bodybuilding community. But outside the hardcore bodybuilding and strength world, people are going to think that your legs look incredible. And you would too if you weren't influenced by all these internet factors. So recognize that your legs look much better than you realize. If you've outgrown your pants, and you've had to upgrade your entire wardrobe, that is a very good sign. And if you look in the mirror and it seems balanced to you, that's good. And also understand that a lot of bodybuilders intentionally made their legs smaller because they did not want the X taper. You can get huge legs, and I'm talking massive to the point where you would never want to contemplate taking drugs. That's how big your legs can get naturally. So please understand that leg aesthetics are 100% subjective, and you're entitled to do what you want. And after a first year of lifting, you can have good development. That's truth number one. The second truth is that genetics and height play a major role in how your legs will look. I would say height is probably the most important factor. If you're really short, you probably don't have to have crazy measurement and your legs are still going to look massive. Whereas if you're really tall, it might take you a lot longer. Now, of course, you're still going to have good looking legs after a year or two of training, but to get that crazy appearance, it's going to take some time and you're really going to have to put in some work. You got to be mindful of the height. If you're shorter, it's going to be easier to fill in. If you're taller, it's a bit more difficult, right? If you're typically going for that massive size. And that means that some shorter guys, they're going to get development fairly quickly, but then they just back off in the leg training, or they just don't go crazy on it. In fact, I've seen some guys who are not even intermediates yet. Maybe they're late novices, or they did some other type of sport throughout their life, and they already got tree trunks. What do you want to do about that? What I can say is that you shouldn't be worrying about other men and their legs. Like, please stop comparing yourself to other men. Stop it. I don't know how many times I have to repeat this in my videos. I say this hundreds and hundreds of times. I don't understand why people are so obsessed with other men's legs. If you're a tall man, stop comparing yourself to a short guy who probably has good leg genetics and naturally has an easier time to fill in, okay? Focus on your own gains and your own progression. Take things one step at a time, okay? And you will fill in. It just takes longer because you have longer limbs, okay? So don't give up on your leg training just because you got more room to fill in, okay? I know it's harder. And some guys will say that there's really no limit if you're a tall guy. I don't know. I can't speak from experience in regards to that. But all I could say is that you should stop comparing yourself to other dudes and just focus on your long-term progression. And then genetics is also a big role here. Like some of you, your legs are just going to grow really, really, really fast. Others, you might have skinny legs for a long time. There are some guys who are squatting in the 4s and the 5s and they still got pretty small looking legs. Not because of secret strength training. It's not because they're not doing hypertrophy training. In fact, many of these individuals run properly written systems that include lots of hypertrophy work and lots of weekly volume and all that. That's not the problem. Some people just find it difficult to gain size in their legs. Strength is a joke for them, but the size doesn't come as rapidly. And it might take for them to get some crazy numbers. And I'm sorry for those people. I really am. But we have to understand that this is the minority. At least 90-95% of the population will not have this problem. So if you're one of those people who's like, oh, but I squat this and I deadlift this and my legs are still small and blah, blah, blah. Like, bro, I'm sorry that you're mad. I'm sorry that you feel that way. I'm sorry that you got to take out your frustration on other men, okay? I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. At least you got good genetics for strength, okay? And the same thing for you taller guys who have trouble filling it in. Hey, man, you can't have it all sometimes, right? So enjoy what you got. Focus on your own progression. Stop worrying about other men. And the final truth is in regards to calf training. You have a lot of guys who believe that calves are 100% genetics. That if you didn't naturally have big calves, it means that they're never going to grow. Okay, let's establish something, right? If you naturally had thick calves, despite never training them, that means you have good calf genetics, not average. This is a very important point to consider because the vast majority of people who say they have bad calf genetics don't even train their calves. They've never done a calf raise in their life. Or if they did, it was very short term. How many of you have trained your calves seriously for 5 to 10 years straight? I'm going to say 99% of people don't do this. Just the truth. They're really, really lazy on their calf training. And then they come up with the excuse that they have bad genetics just because one of their buddies already had big calves or his calves grew fairly fast. That just means he has good genetics. Most people just have average genetics. Sure, the androgen receptor sensitivity is lower in that area. Okay, yeah, that's true. But it doesn't mean you can't develop them. If you got 14-inch calves and you think that they're never going to grow, that this is your genetic limit somehow, that's nonsense. A lot of you can add inches to your calves. And I'm going to say at the bare minimum 1 to 2 inches. So if you got 14, you can at least get 15, 16. Come on, man. You can grow them. You can grow those calves. If you actually isolate them, if you actually train them, if you induce progressive overload or over a long period of time, you can grow your calves. And the thing is, too, a lot of people use bad form on calf raises. They're doing bouncy reps. They're not actually, like, flexing their calves, which I believe is quite important with this. And they're impatient. They are extremely impatient. Just think of yourself as a slow grower and leave it at that. But stop making the excuse that you got bad calf genetics when you never actually trained them. Most people say, oh, I have bad calf genetics. They don't even train them. Again, find me a guy who's training for 5 years straight with consistency, inducing progressive overload, who didn't get any gains. I want to see those before and after measurements. Come on, man, let's be realistic. Now, of course, there are some people who have really bad calf genetics. They're naturally going to be super, super tiny. Or they have a very high calf insertion. Again, it goes back to the second point. I don't know what to tell you, right? Don't get frustrated. This is what you were dealt with. Okay, these are the cards. I can't help you out in that case, right? But you can still do the best of what you're capable of. You can still get them as large as possible if that's one of your goals, all right? But stop saying that you have bad calf genetics when you never train them. If it takes you a year to get half an inch, that's still progress, all right? Progress is progress. Let's establish that. So anyway, those are some 3 points to think about. I can say way more, way more. So I'm going to keep this video simple. Not going to keep you here any longer. I hope you enjoyed it. Give me your feedback down below, and I will see you next time.